Welcome to Secrets of Success podcast with Dr. Shane Needham, where our theme is never be outworked. And this is episode number 3. Our episode number 1 and episode number 2 was fantastic, where we talked about COVID-19 testing. We all know that is a rapidly changing area. So for me to have somebody that was actually live in our industry, like developing tests and knowing about it, being an expert around the globe was awesome. We had Dr. Chad Briscoe. Then on Wednesday, we had pastor and friend of mine, Aaron Couch, to talk about faith and COVID-19 and how to have faith and just so many other topics about how the importance of faith. And I want to give a shout out to my video editor and computer generated imagery expert, Jordan Needham, who happens to be my nephew. He is editing those 2 podcasts, those first 2. I've seen them, and he did a great job of some additions and some compressing, and just awesome. And he's going to do that to all my podcasts, and we're going to have those live on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, and podcast iTunes, and those will be available in the next couple of days. And so I also want to give a shout out to my son, Finland Needham, who is my producer. And you don't see it here. I'll show it later probably. I hope to have him on the show. He's just a wonderful child. And, this is great. I just think about how fortunate I am to be surrounded, including by my nephew and my son. We can't reach out to a lot of people and have them in our homes or our studios or meet with them. So it's so cool to have just close relatives that we can actually do these things with. And Finland, I have a soundboard here. I have this microphone. I have my webcam that's streaming. He did it all of it. And he is great at it. And it's been a great father-son bonding experience. And so it's just been wonderful. And so thank you very much for both of those, Finland and Jordan. Shout outs to both of you. And so this is only episode 3. It's only in our 2nd week. So I still want to give an introduction to myself. I'm a disciple, a father, an entrepreneur. I own a testing laboratory. I'm a chemist, PhD in chemistry by training. And I also am an entrepreneur, scientist, a bodybuilder, powerlifter, motivational speaker, a coach. Check out my TED Talk on I guess, never being outworked last year at this time. And you can go to my website, drsneedham.com, DRSNEEDHAM.com. And now I'm proud to say I'm a podcaster. And so this time that we've had some extra time because of COVID-19, that's what I took advantage of. And it's been a great time. And we're going to have somebody who is well known in the financial industry, who works as an executive director for a major global financial institution, talking about what happened to the economy during COVID-19 and what do they expect to happen to the economy. And so obviously we're in a recession, and that's kind of scary, but he's going to talk about that. And also a business colleague of mine going to talk about, he's from the East Coast, going to be talking about, hey, what is COVID-19 like on the East Coast and how has it affected his business? He's in my industry as well. And so also we're going to be talking to a constitutional lawyer next week about COVID-19. And so, and our rights. And so that's going to be really, really cool. And so stay tuned, everybody. And we are going to have some great podcasts. And so in overview, I am going to today be talking about COVID-19 and emotions. Okay. And there's lots of anxiety with COVID-19. And so what is the anxiety? It's fear of the unknown. Okay. We're also going to be talking about positive psychology and also fear of the unknown and how positive psychology can help us through the fear of the unknown. Okay. So anxiety and how to deal with that anxiety. So first of all, we're going to be talking about emotions. Okay. And emotions, because anxiety is one of those emotions. It's part of a category of fear. Okay. And so what are those emotions? Well, I like to break them down in 5 categories. So if you read Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry and others, so it'll talk about 5 emotions, and they're glad, sad, mad. I like to use those terms because they rhyme. Glad, sad, mad, and then fear and shame. Okay. And anxiety comes under that fear. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But what about these emotions? Okay. These emotions are, I think what we want to take away from them is there's ranges of them. Like you can be ecstatic when you're glad, or you can be just, oh, I'm happy, I'm content, or when you're sad, you can be like, oh, I'm a little bit blue, or you can be depressed. And so there's ranges of all of those emotions. And so what we're thinking about is those two things. I think I want to take away from all those emotions. None of them are bad or good. They just are what they are. Okay. Emotions are what they are. Okay. And so they just are what they are. They're not bad or good. It doesn't mean that glad is good, and it doesn't mean that sad is bad. And we should experience all of those emotions and let them flow through us. Okay. And so that's what we need to do. And so, and also number two to take away is all emotions are temporary. All emotions are temporary. They will go away. Sometimes it's minutes, sometimes it's seconds. There are some elation, like after you win an event or something, there's some elation that goes away in sometimes seconds. Okay. And but they can go away in days, minutes, weeks. And so it just depends. And so, but they're temporary and they're not bad or good. They just are what they are. Okay. And so again, glad, sad, mad, fear, and shame. Those are the 5 main emotions. So, and as we talk about anxiety and COVID-19, what we want to talk about is how can we deal with that anxiety? And so the best way to deal with that anxiety is from something that I've used for myself, and it's positive psychology. And so before we get into too much of positive psychology, is all emotions are not bad or good. They are what they are. And we need to experience all of them. And I want to tell you, be a little bit vulnerable with myself and talk about some instances. We do know people that tend to be sad all the time, or they're upset, or they're critical of others, and they tend to be in that sad box, and they like to be in that victim box, okay, where they like to complain about others. They don't like to take responsibility or accountability for themselves, and they like to be in that victim box, and they're always sad, and they blame their emotions on other people, okay? Number one, and you parents, tell your kids this: your emotions are your responsibility. Nobody makes you mad. Nobody makes you sad. You decide to be sad or mad. I'm not saying we can always totally control that, but nobody does that to us. Be in control of your own emotions, okay? I have had it's only been in the last year, or especially the last year, where I've really experienced all the emotions. So what I've done, I'm probably one of those people that's probably an overachiever, so to speak. And so, and that's okay. But I ran from some of my emotions. I ran from shame and guilt and embarrassment, or I ran from sadness, or some of those what we often think of as negative emotions. I ran from those, and I don't do that anymore. And it's really, really helped me emotionally experiencing those. So I was always chasing something else, like chasing gladness, chasing happiness. And so I achieved a lot of things, and I'm so happy for that. And I'm proud of all that as well. And I suppose there's worse things I could have done as far as coping with what I considered poor emotions. But anyway, you can't run from emotions. Experience them all. So let's talk about positive psychology. Okay, positive psychology. Look it up. So really the grandfather or the father of positive psychology is, and before I move on, remember this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradberry. And my video editor we're going to be talking about a lot of things. He's going to add some words to this podcast, compress it, edit it. So you guys just follow along, okay? But positive psychology is Dr. Martin Seligman, okay? He's the father or the grandfather of positive psychology. In the past, what we did is, if you think about the past psychologist was to get people to a level to function in society. So these people were sick, so to speak. They were maybe depressed or bipolar, or they had just mental health issues that maybe couldn't even be treated via drugs, and they had to be some kind of cognitively treated, with psychology. And so he would get these people that were sick and give them therapy. For example, Sigmund Freud, give them therapy to get them to a point where they could function in society. And then they were done. And that was really, for the last 100 years, that's what's really been done, or even a little bit more than that. That's what's been done for psychology, is that we got people to a point where they could function in society. Well, Dr. Martin Seligman, 30 years ago, let's say, he was kind of the father, the grandfather, like I said, of positive psychology. And he was the one that said, hey, wait a minute. Using psychology in a positive mode or a positive effect, we can get people to get healthy, and not only get healthy, but thrive. We can get them to thrive. So we can take a good person that is functioning in society and make them even great, make them even better. Okay. And everybody can get better. A great person can even get better. Okay. And so he's the father of that. So out of all this, you've got life coaches now, executive coaches, most NCAA football and basketball coaches in D1 level, they all have these types of executive psychologist coaches to help their mindsets, to help them coach, and to help them lead. And so Dr. Martin Seligman is that person. Look him up, Seligman, Dr. Martin Seligman. Some of his books, I want to list these out here. I've read them all. I don't have examples of them. I don't have them on my bookshelf anymore. I just gave them away to other people who I thought it would help. But some of his examples of his work are some books like this: Flourish, Authentic Happiness, Learned Optimism, What You Can Change and What You Can't Change. And we'll talk about that, Effort and Attitude. But those are some of his books. I mean, if you ever heard the term learned helplessness, that also came from Dr. Martin Seligman. So that's positive psychology, is what sets the stage for all of what we're going to be talking about, and anxiety and how to deal with it. Okay. So let's talk about, what is anxiety? Pretty simple definition. Anxiety is fear of the unknown. Okay. Certainly during self-isolation, during self-quarantine, during these times when some of us might be furloughed from our jobs, or we lost a job, or our business is struggling because of some of the mandates that the government has put on us, or people are changing their buying habits. And so all these things can cause anxiety. It can cause us to think about anxiety, and it's the fear of the unknown. So let's think about, what can we control? Can we control what the government does? No. There's always two things we can control. We can't control what other people do. We can't control their feelings. We can't control what they do to us. We can't control the overall economy. We can only control our effort and our attitude. So our effort is, what do we do during these times? And our attitude is, how do we respond to it emotionally? Okay. And so effort and attitude is all we can control. Now, let's talk a little bit about optimism and what it is. And I was just taught this and read more about it more recently. And so it's like, optimism is not, I always thought, oh, good things are going to happen. That's what I always kind of thought. I guess that's kind of the way that I always thought of it as an outcome-based definition. Like, if I'm in a wrestling match, or my wrestler's in a wrestling match, always going to win the match. And no, that's not optimism. Optimism is not knowing the outcome, but knowing that something good is going to become of it. That's what optimism is. Okay. And I appreciate you guys giving me comments on Facebook. I know the streaming is not working. That's okay. We're going to get this recorded. We're going to have it available for you, so you'll have it available by next week. And so I apologize for that. Don't know what's going on. I tried it twice. And so, but that's okay. We'll get it recorded. So optimism is not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So you focus on the process, but knowing that something good will come of the outcome. And I have a great friend of mine who We always talk about everything happens for a reason. And that's kind of what optimism is. It's like, yeah, no matter what happens, everything's going to be okay. That's what optimism is. Now, what about happiness? I want to talk about this before we start talking specifically about anxiety. So, happiness. I think as parents, we tend to, I've learned to not say this um, because it can be a trap. A lot of parents, a lot of people say, I just want to be happy. I want my kids to be happy. Well, happy is a choice. Happiness is a choice. It absolutely is. And so uh, maybe a better term, what I started using for my children is not that I want them to be happy. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to be fulfilled, to know that when they are on their deathbed, that they've lived a life that they can look back and say, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. I really, really enjoyed the journey of life and I have no regrets. Now, let's talk about happiness though, and who's happy and who's not. Okay. And a lot of people think that happy people are generous people and happy people are thankful people. No, that's not what the research of positive psychology shows. And look it up with Dr. Martin Seligman. When people are on their deathbeds and people are towards the end of their lives, or even people that are in the middle of their lives, when they have found the happiest people are those who have gratitude, who are thankful, and are generous. Now, what does generous mean? Gratitude obviously means you're thankful. Like, what am I thankful for during COVID-19? Thankful I can spend a lot of time with my children, one-on-one, and they can't use excuses to go see their friends or not hang out or whatever. We've done fun things together, things that we've never done before. And I'm thankful for those times. I'm thankful for these times where, I had time to start a podcast. I made time to start a podcast. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I'm healthy. My family doesn't have COVID-19. Nobody close to me really has COVID-19. I'm thankful that it hasn't been as bad as they said it was going to be. That was scary. Okay. And so I'm thankful for those things. So thankful people who count their gratitudes, count their blessings, so to speak, and they're thankful people, they tend to be more happy. Now, what about generosity? A lot of people immediately think generosity means giving money, or giving donations, and it doesn't. Generous can mean so many different things. It can mean generous with your time. In other words, do you have time, if you're a coach, do you have time specifically to work one-on-one with that one kid who wants to stay after practice and he wants to get better? That you're being generous with your time. You're being generous with your time. What about being generous with your words? How many people do you compliment a day? Where you give them good words, where you say, hey, really good job, I'm proud of you. Or, man, you're a hard worker, whatever those words are. Okay. You're a great mom. You're a great dad. Whatever those words are, be generous with your words. Of course, you can be generous with your finances and your resources as well, especially if you have that ability. I recommend that to everybody. I know every time I give and I'm generous with my time, with my resources, with my words, I feel better about myself. I really, really do. I like making people feel good about themselves. And so gratitude and generosity, those are the two things that people need to really have a fulfillment in their life and to feel happy. And so do those things. I mean, I strive at them. I try every day. I fail a lot too, but I strive every day. And so that's people who are grateful and people who are generous are happy people. Okay. So now let's move on. Let's change gears from positive psychology and from what it actually is to more about how to live a life of the model that Dr. Martin Seligman talks about. And he calls it the PERMA model. PERMA. We'll talk about each one of those. And these are all going to be wrapped up to talk about anxiety and how we can help our anxiety during these times of COVID-19 and self-isolation and self-quarantine. Okay. So PERMA. again, my video editor is going to add some words here so you guys can all understand this better when we show it non-live and next time when it's pre-record when it's recorded. Okay, and so what does the P stand for? It stands for positive emotion. Okay, and what does that mean? That doesn't, and it doesn't mean you're always happy. It means that you're optimistic. Remember, you think that you enjoy the journey of life, not just the outcome. That you know no matter what, a good thing will become of it. Okay? That's optimism. That's positive emotion. Gratitude and generosity, those are both positive emotions. Practice those things. I want to, as a wrestling coach, when I was a wrestling coach, we used to talk a lot about having fun and how important having fun is. Either whether you're in wrestling practice, and wrestling is, it's known for being a grind. I mean, it's known for being, I am biased, but if you talk to most people who have ever wrestled, and they've done other sports as well, they will tell you by far wrestling's the hardest sport they've ever done. And it is, but it can still be fun. And why is it fun? Not because it's fun as a positive emotion because it's fun, it's because it's fulfilling. It's because we'll talk about some of these things. You've achieved all the things in the PERMA model of these of positive psychology in a wrestling practice. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a lot of parents say, "Well, I just want my kids to have fun." Okay, these are difficult topics, and so I'm just going to let my kid do what they want to do. Okay, well, if you let them do what they want to do, they'd play video games all the time, okay, or they'd hang out at the skate park all the time. I'm not saying there's not time for that. What I'm saying is that one jump they did at a skate park, or that one night they had with Fortnite in 2020 or 2019, they are not going to remember. They're not going to be fulfilled with that as much as doing an activity that is going to use all their emotions, surrounded by other people, and it's going to be more of an achievement. That fun, we can chase fun all of our lives, and we will never be fulfilled. So fun and fulfilling is a big difference. I don't like to, yeah, of course I like to have fun. Of course I want my kids to have fun, but I also want them to have fulfilling experiences, because overall, those experiences are more fun. They're going to look back on them and think, that was cool. I mean, Atari, I know I'm dating myself. That was kind of the first video game console to come out, right? I used to play Atari too much, probably. I don't remember my high scores on Atari. Space Invaders and Asteroids and River Raid and all these other games that I played. I know I'm dating myself, but I don't remember my high scores. But I remember riding bikes with the neighbors and my brothers. I absolutely remember that. That was awesome. That was way more. I remember digging in the dirt with my brothers, and that was awesome. I remember fishing with my uncle. I remember fishing with my dad. I remember hunting with my uncle. I remember all those things that were fun and also fulfilling. Okay, so be very careful, but positive emotion. Okay, so you want positive emotions, experience optimism, experience gratitude, experience generosity. All those are under your control. Read the book about learned optimism by Dr. Martin Seligman. It's a fantastic book. It's how we change our mindsets into saying, we can become more optimistic. Okay, we can become more optimistic. And so that is absolutely, truly fantastic. It's changed how I think about things. I'm not thinking about the outcome. I'm thinking about the process, and no matter what, the outcome is going to be good. Okay, there's going to be good things that come with the outcome. Okay, that's the P in PERMA. The E is engagement. Engage in things that you like to do, that you have passion for, that is really going to help you mentally and emotionally. Is engage in these things that you like to do, that you have a passion for. If you ever heard of somebody in the zone or in the flow, so to speak, look it up. I'm sure you guys have heard of those things. Those are people that are experiencing engagement. They're engaged. For some people it's work. For some people, right now I'm engaged. I love this. I love my work. I love being a scientist. I love being an entrepreneur. And so I love engaging those things. I love lifting weights. I love engaging in those activities and getting in the flow of those things, because it makes me feel better about myself. And it's an opportunity to interact with people as well. And so get in that flow, but engage in something that you are absolutely passionate about. Okay. And then there's the R. What is the R? PERMA. So we have P, positive emotion. E, engagement. What's the R? Relationships. Okay. And when I talk about relationships, I mean relationships where your connection is amazing and you're vulnerable. And Dr. Brene Brown, who she's certainly been influenced by positive psychology. Dr. Brene Brown talks a lot about vulnerability. Okay. And so you will go read some of her books. They're fantastic. I think I've read every single one of hers, and they're just fantastic about being vulnerable and authentic and how important that is for our mental and emotional state. But have relationships where you can be vulnerable. And we talked a lot about this with connections with my pastor and friend on Wednesday about how God made us to connect. We are human beings that more so than most other species, more so than any species, have to connect with people. And we got to be vulnerable. And sometimes we're going to get hurt from those relationships. But what I have found is when I am vulnerable, I have about 4 or 5 really close people in my life that I can be totally vulnerable with. They're totally vulnerable with me. We talk about some crazy stuff that I never thought I would talk to anybody about, and how important that's been in building a relationship, but not only with them, but with myself, to know more about myself, to know that I'm normal, that some of these things that I think about are not that weird, so to speak, or strange, or I'm not, they're not bad or good. They just are what they are. So get those connections. Those relationships are important. And when you think about things that you do fulfilling in your life that create positive emotions and also engagement, we've already talked about with the PERMA model, is they're usually done with people that are close to you in those relationships. And it might, it's have somebody you can be totally vulnerable with. And that is really, really a key to mental and emotional health. And I'm fortunate that I have that. I'll be vulnerable with you. It's only been the last 2 or 3 years that I've had relationships like that. I was so busy raising kids, running a business, being an entrepreneur, being a wrestling coach, being all these different things. I never was really, really vulnerable and didn't have real connections and relationships until the last 3 years, or 3 or 4 years for sure. And I'm just so thankful for those. Okay, so PERMA, positive emotion, engagement, relationships. What's the M? The M is meaning, okay? Our life, we need to think of our life as having meaning, okay? In other words, we have to have a why. We have to have a purpose for why we are on this earth. And it's a lot of times why faithful people that believe in God, they've just done studies on this, these are just facts, tend to be more happy people than people who aren't faithful, because their purpose is a lot of times glorifying God, or it's living a life that's bigger than themselves. And so that is so good. But that's what we have to do when we have meaning is knowing that there's something out there bigger than us. And sometimes that can be, just saying I'm on a great sports team. I play for the New York Yankees or the Dallas Cowboys, whatever it is. I don't want to take sides there. I'm just giving 2 historical teams that have tended to have some good reputations. Okay, that's a whole other discussion on who's the best and if those are good teams or not. Okay, so but being involved in something bigger than yourself, to have a meaning, have a purpose. And I know at my company, at Alturas Analytics, we certainly have a meaning, and it's big, a purpose. We have a vision and a mission. I won't get into those, but a vision is a purpose. Okay. I have set this for myself. I have set a purpose for myself, or my meaning. And by the way, I don't always do this. I fail at this a lot, but my purpose, I wrote it down. My vision I set several years ago was to glorify God. That's my purpose. And glorify God and leave a legacy for my children. And so I hope that's a good legacy. So that's a joke. So anyway, that's my purpose. So have a purpose in mind. What are you living for? Write it down. Write it down what your purpose is. Okay. And so that's been very important to me to think, hey, if I do this, is that going to be going towards my purpose or going towards my vision? I don't know. And but that helps me make a decision on, is that helping me get towards my vision? And that's really helped me make some decisions in my life. Okay. Some difficult ones that some people would think were, wow, that was a negative decision. And it wasn't. It was actually truly letting me, I guess, follow my vision. And I just love that. And I'm thankful to be a believer. And so that you have a purpose. Okay. So we have positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning. What is the A on PERMA? PERMA, achievement. Okay. I've always been really good at this one. Okay. I'm a goal setter. So when achievement is set goals, set daily goals, set long-term goals, and then set little goals on how you get towards those big goals. I've always done that. Since I was a teenager, I've been really, really good about writing my goals down and write them down. It's just a dream if you didn't write them down. Okay. So write them down, write those goals down. And then how are you going to achieve those goals? And so write them down. That's the achievement. Okay. And so that's very important as well. And so when you try to achieve, I want it to be about you, not somebody else. What do I mean by that? I want you to be really careful with this, and we've all fallen in these traps, okay? A lot of parents, for example, their achievement is through their children. And what I mean by that is not that they want to raise successful adults who are responsible and accountable. No. They want them to be a star basketball player, a star baseball player, a star wrestler, a star in the choir. Sometimes they're living their own, what they want for their achievements through their children. And we call that living vicariously through your children. Okay. We've all probably fallen into that trap. Okay. And certainly that's not a good one, because that will never provide you with true meaning, with true fulfillment in your life. It never will. You will constantly be chasing something. And it breaks one of our rules about what we can and cannot control, correct? Yes, it does. We can control our effort and our attitude, not somebody else's. We can't control somebody else's attitude. We can't control somebody else's effort. We can only control ours. And so that's what we think of when we think of achievement. Set goals, try to meet those goals. Sometimes it might be, seriously, and this is okay during COVID-19. Set a goal like, I did laundry today and I even folded it, right? I know the folding is the worst part for me. Okay. So, I did all the laundry today and I folded it. That's a goal. And that's going to give you, it's going to make you feel like you're a success. It's going to make you feel like an achievement. Or what side hustle do you want to do during COVID-19? Since you have extra time on their hands. Or I know people who are organizing their houses and they're cleaner than they've ever been. I'm not one of those people, but that's great. Set those goals, but achievement, what is it that you want to achieve? Set those goals and strive towards them. So that's the PERMA model, PERMA. We'll have this all on the show notes available by the editor. And so what does it get to when we talk about anxiety? Okay, when we talk about anxiety and the fear of the unknown, again, what can we control? Okay, it's the fear of the unknown. So it's fear. What is it? What are we afraid of? Okay, we have to learn to be optimistic. That no matter what, something good will come of this. I'm already seeing good things. I'm seeing relationship-wise, a lot of people they're so thankful for their relationships and they can't wait to get back together and have like a big reunion. So maybe we took those relationships for granted. But what is it? Learn that optimism, that focus on the process. What can we enjoy right now during this process and be fulfilled? And no matter what, something good is going to come of it. That's optimism. And what about gratitude and generosity? Practice that daily. Being grateful. I know I tend to be a person that prays. I pray in the morning, pray at the night, and other times sometimes. And I always list what I'm thankful for. And it does, especially after a bad day, I always feel better. Always feel better about what I'm thankful for. And I still have to be improving on my generosity. I try to use my words better. I try to use my time better. my resources better, all those things. But certainly that is one that is a little bit of, it could be a struggle for me. Okay. And so that was my sneeze button. So, and so this has been a great show. So how do we deal with anxiety during COVID-19? Learned optimism, gratitude and generosity. It's in our minds. It's the mindset that we actually have. Okay. And been thankful for that. So in conclusion, everybody stay healthy and keep that optimistic, positive mindset as much as possible. Experience emotions if you have to. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to experience those emotions and sit with them and let them flow. Episode 4 coming up. We are going to have a executive director from a major financial institution talking about the economy, how it's been affected by COVID-19, and what he expects in the future for what's going to happen to the economy after we come out of all this. And eventually and slowly it looks like we are. So we're going to be excited to have him. Thank you for joining me on episode number 3, Secrets of Success with Dr. Shane Needham, where the theme is never be outworked. Really, really appreciate it. Thanks for all your patience. Thanks for all your comments. Yeah, we had some technical issues today, live streaming on Facebook. Going to get that figured out, but it's all recorded and we will just post it later on all those media, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, and iTunes for podcasts. So thank you very much, and we will see you next time.